Okay, so let's unpack this. We've been talking about the slow, agonizing death of the password for years.
Oh, for ages. Always with the promise of something better just around the corner.
But this time, the sources suggest we aren't just looking at an upgrade. It feels more like a full generational replacement that is already fundamentally changing how we access our digital lives.
It's already here.
We are diving deep today into Passkeys, the technology that promises to finally end the tyranny of the complicated, easy to forget, and frankly, dangerously weak password.
And this dive is crucial because if you hold any digital assets, especially crypto, your current authentication strategy is probably your single biggest point of failure.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. The mission today is to, give you a shortcut to understanding why passwords are now a complete liability. They're a legacy system that just cannot handle modern threats. When you look at the sheer sophistication of modern phishing campaigns or the terrifying volume of AI-driven brute forcing attempts, the password, the thing protecting our money, our data is failing us spectacularly.
I found that line in the material particularly stinging. The sources state that for decades, passwords have been the front door to our digital lives, but they were never designed for today's hyper-connected, malicious world.
Oh, no.
They are fundamentally the least secure method available in 2025. And that is such a dangerous disconnect when the stakes are higher than ever.
It's a tragedy of technology, really. Passwords rely on human memory, human error, and guessable text strings. They were a necessary invention back then, but in the context of high-stakes digital security, especially with crypto assets involved.
Oh, especially then.
Relying on a string of characters that can be stolen, recycled, or guessed is just a recipe for disaster. The promise of passkeys is that they address this fundamental human vulnerability and this architectural weakness head-on.
And what's impressive is the marketing pitch, which, for once, is actually backed by the technology. The shift is already happening, and it's being pitched as both drastically more secure and more human.
And that combination is the revolutionary part.
It is.
Historically, security has always come at the cost of convenience. Think of setting up a 30-character password you have to change every 3 months.
I hate that.
But here, finally, the most secure method is also the most convenient.
Okay, let's jump into part one then.
Yeah.
The fundamental shift. If we are finally killing the password, what are we replacing it with, technically speaking?
So we are moving away from authenticating with something you know. That's the password.
Right.
We're moving to authenticating with something you are or have. This pivot shifts the security anchor point from a centralized, guessable secret to a unique, local cryptographic key stored on your personal device.
And we use these methods every day, even if we haven't called them passkeys until now. The sources list specific authentication methods that fulfill this criteria. FaceID, which crucially includes real liveness detection. TouchID, Windows Hello.
And even dedicated hardware keys, like a YubiKey.
Right.
And to elaborate on that liveness detection point you mentioned, that's key. It means the system isn't just checking if a face matches a photo.
Okay.
It's looking for three-dimensional characteristics, blink rates, real-time movement. This specifically blocks those simple spoofing attacks where a hacker just tries to hold up a photo or a recorded video of you to the camera.
So the fundamental security leap, it really comes down to one absolutely crucial requirement then.
Physical presence.
Physical presence, exactly.
That's the heart of the security model. A passkey involves a cryptographic key, pair, a public key, and a private key. The public key is what the service, like Google or your banking app, sees. The private key, the actual secret, is generated and stored locally on your device.
Locally, okay.
Usually within a secure enclave or a specialized security chip like Apple's Secure Enclave or the equivalent in modern PCs.
So if that private key never leaves my physical device, how does the system confirm I am who I say I am?
Well, when you authenticate, say, with your fingerprint, you are simply unlocking access to that local private key.
Got it.
The private key then cryptographically signs a challenge issued by the service. The service uses your public key to verify that signature. The critical point is this. The private key never leaves your device. It is never transmitted over the internet.
Wow. So this means a hacker can't just be sitting in another country and run a phishing attack that tricks me into typing my password into a fake site.
Precisely. That's the security advantage that is impossible to ignore.
Because there's nothing to type.
Exactly. Because the passkey is anchored to your physical device and requires your biometric input, it cannot be phished. The scammer has nothing to steal. It can't be brute force because it's not relying on a guessable secret. And critically, even if the service provider's entire database is leaked, the attackers gain nothing.
Because the private keys were never there in the first place.
They were never stored there.
It sounds like we are finally mapping digital security to real-world constraints for the first time. The digital trust equation now requires a physical component.
It does.
But hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here, which the critiques suggested we should do.
What?
We're anchoring this crucial secret, this private key, to a single piece of hardware, my phone.
Right.
If I lose my phone or it gets smashed,
Yeah.
isn't that a far more catastrophic single point of failure than losing a password, which I could just reset from another device?
That is the single most important question skeptics raise, and it's why the system is designed for recovery.
Okay, good.
So firstly, your keys are automatically backed up, usually encrypted, to your cloud provider like Apple Keychain or Google Password Manager. Secondly, the industry is moving quickly to support robust social recovery or secure multi-device synchronization.
So if I get a new phone,
If you authenticate on a new device using an older form of identity verification, the cloud service can securely push an encrypted version of your passkeys to the new device. The key is that the recovery process still uses strong, established, and device-locked methods, not just a simple password reset.
that significantly reduces the anxiety. I suppose the final point here is that this technology is already becoming universal. I mean, Apple, Google, Microsoft, they've all adopted passkeys natively across their operating systems.
That's the engine of adoption. When it's built into the OS, you get that no friction and no cognitive load experience. You just use FaceID like you always do. But now it's securing your bank account, your email, and soon your digital wallet.
Right.
Security that is annoying never gets adopted correctly.
Absolutely. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at part 2 and detail the 5 clear systemic advantages these passkey systems deliver, not just to us as individuals, but to enterprises and institutions managing vast amounts of data and assets.
We can start with the foundation: drastically stronger security. As we established, there is no password to guess, and more importantly for our audience, no central database to leak.
And for crypto users.
The sources highlight another major generational benefit: no easily phished seed phrase.
And the second advantage solves the most human problem of all: human-proof usability. I'm terrible at remembering complex passwords, but I've never forgotten my fingerprint or had to write down my Face ID on a sticky note.
It addresses the largest attack vector, the user.
A user, yeah.
If the secure method is also the simple method, the user stops being the weakest link. The third advantage builds on the mechanics we just discussed: hardware-backed protection. This isn't just an app running on a device. It means the system is secured at the chip level.
Explain that chip-level detail a bit more. What does that mean for a hacker?
It means the private key is physically separated from the main operating system and the internet connection. It is isolated within a secure element, often called an enclave. So even if malware completely compromises the phone's operating system, that malware cannot access the encrypted storage containing the private key.
So it's walled off.
This is the impossibility of a hacker faking physical presence. They need to be physically in possession of the hardware, and then they still have to defeat the biometric input.
Which moves us toward advantage number 4, a better user experience. Security that feels effortless gets adopted.
Which means fewer employees making security mistakes.
Fewer support calls for IT departments and higher adoption of protective measures.
And this point is critical for enterprise. High security compliance usually means poor usability, leading to shadow IT or user workarounds. Passkeys align safety and simplicity, which dramatically lowers the operational risk for any institution.
And finally, and this is highly technical but vital, advantage number 5, protocol-level integrity. What does this mean in practical terms? Because the source material said this is a crucial architectural difference.
It means security isn't bolted on as an afterthought, sitting in some external authentication server.
It's native.
It's native. In these new systems, the rules for access, identity verification, and permissions are baked into the fundamental design of the platform or the blockchain protocol itself. For an enterprise, this means that security policies, like requiring multi-sig approval or certain spending limits, are enforced by the protocol, not just the application sitting on top. This makes the system inherently more resilient and trustless.
So developers don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Exactly. They don't have to build complex external authentication layers. They simply interface with the protocol's native security structure.
That distinction really matters, especially when we start talking about high-value, decentralized applications and blockchain technology, where immutable rules are the standard.
Precisely. It moves security from being an external checklist item to being an inherent, unchangeable part of the system's foundation.
Which brings us directly to part 3, where crypto is catching up, because here's the great irony we touched on earlier. We have an industry crypto built on decentralization and cutting-edge cryptography, and yet many popular crypto wallets today are still relying on password-based authentication and easily phished human-readable seed phrases. The sources call this the least secure method available in 2025.
It is a profound paradox. The digital asset world is perhaps the highest-stakes environment online, where billions in value are transferred daily, yet its front door is often the weakest technological link, prone to human error and theft. Passwords and easily phished seed phrases have cost users billions.
So if seed phrases and passwords are the problem, how do you manage ownership in a decentralized world without them?
This is where the visionaries stepped in. Some blockchain networks recognized this systemic risk years ago and began experimenting with models that completely replace passwords and seed phrases with a superior architectural design.
So how did they solve this architecturally? What was the fix?
The fix involves implementing permissioned account designs. In traditional crypto, you have one private key, which is the master key to everything, and if you lose it or someone steals it,
You're done. Game over.
you're done. In a permission design, the architecture shifts away from a single, powerful private key that lives externally and toward an account structure that manages authentication, recovery, and various permissions directly at the protocol level.
So the blockchain itself is not just processing transactions, it's actively managing who has the authority to sign what.
Exactly. Think of it like a smart account. The protocol itself can define different keys for different roles. One key for daily spending, one for recovery, and one for high-value governance decisions. And because this is managed natively, it allows developers to integrate modern methods like passkeys directly into wallets.
That is a transformative difference. It means the friction of a seed phrase is completely gone, and the security is built into the protocol.
It is. This architectural redesign allows the wallet to use biometrics, your passkey for signing transactions, anchoring the cryptography to the physical device and the person behind it, without ever exposing a human-readable secret phrase.
And you can do things like recovery.
This also enables robust features like secure social recovery or spending limits, which are impossible or, at best, cumbersome with traditional private key wallets.
And the sources point specifically to modern architectures, like at XPR Network, as an example of platforms that exemplify this shift to native permissions and integrated passkeys.
They serve as a concrete working example of this design philosophy. The permission structure is baked into the protocol, allowing for advanced features and fictionless, secure sign-in years before other parts of the industry began migrating.
So they saw this coming.
They proved that you could have true decentralization without relying on the dangerous legacy system of the seed phrase.
It sounds like the market is finally waking up to this reality across the board. The industry is realizing that the easiest point of entry for theft is still the weakest link, the password.
That's the current market reality, and it's being driven by external pressure.
Right.
Security expectations are rising dramatically, especially as institutional capital begins flowing into the digital asset space.
Yeah.
Platforms that take authentication seriously and move away from legacy systems that threat actors know how to exploit will be the ones rewarded by the market. Passkeys represent a necessary evolution for the entire sector.
So what does this all mean for us? Let's summarize the massive scope of this change. Passkeys are not just a more convenient way to log in.
No, they are a complete redesign of how access, identity, and digital ownership are defended. This shift fundamentally fixes the long-standing structural problem of digital access being easily separated from the physical person.
It's a fundamental link.
It's moving security from the realm of centralized servers and human memory into the realm of local hardware and biometrics.
I love the final prediction in the material, and it provides such clear perspective. 5 years from now, typing a password to unlock a crypto wallet will feel as utterly ridiculous, outdated, and needlessly risky as logging into your bank account over dial-up internet.
It's an unavoidable timeline. The synthesis is clear. The future is biometrics. The future is hardware-backed. The future is permissioned, integrated, and frictionless. The era of the easily guessed or stolen password is finally ending.
And that is a significantly more secure future indeed. Before we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave you with this final thought. Building on what our sources outlined,
Yeah.
the security expectations are rising, and passkeys require physical presence to authorize transactions. This introduces a level of verifiable, physical digital trust we simply haven't had before.
That's the key.
So consider this. What new kinds of digital ownership, financial access, and high-value transactions might become possible now that digital trust finally maps so cleanly and securely to the real world? Could this unlock widespread institutional custody or entirely new models of governance? Think about that potential.
A powerful question to consider as you navigate this rapidly changing landscape. The convergence of physical presence and digital authorization changes everything.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today on why passkeys are not just optional, but essential for the future of security, especially in the high-stakes world of crypto. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in.
And keep exploring this evolving field.